Mike Briggs is our cattle market analyst this week. We talked with Mike Wednesday morning and started by asking about the hot streak in cash cattle since we last talked in mid-January.
Just wish I would have had some more cattle. You always have, you never have enough when it's good. It's been really good. My concern is that it's ran up too far, too fast, and we don't know yet what kind of demand destruction we're doing.
Yeah, hamburger's really expensive like we had been talking about, and you've kept your eye on this for a long time, and the question I posed to you is what happens when the consumer, because at this point it's almost when the consumer says I'm not paying it anymore?
That is a great question. Now the one thing that's been in our favor, as beef has gone up, so has pork, and the relationship has stayed fairly similar, so that's not really as much of an alternative. I guess it's a matter of how much chicken people want to eat.
How have your margins been here at the feedlot, maybe through the first part of this year?
Extraordinary. Probably record margins. I know it was really good in 2003. Really good margins because we've had a corn price that you could actually tolerate, and you've just had this huge run up in your inventory. So that's the thing that all cattle feeders live for.
What about on the other side of that? What's the packer doing?
You know, that's been a really great question, and the one thing about the packer, and we've talked about this before, you can't figure his margins just by looking at boxed beef price and live price. There's no correlation there anymore. They must be doing okay because they keep processing cattle. I think exports are good, and I know exports for the variety meats and the stuff that we would typically throw away, they're making money on, and they're doing okay. But when it ran up that far, we're way out of line there. So I'm sure that's not very good, but their problem is you're not going to see an increase in slaughter supplies, and I think they're really going to have to fight for cattle.
When does that tightness sort of hit?
Well, I think a lot of that tightness, personally, I think we put a low in the cash market here for maybe, I don't know, because we ran into that dead period where demand's not very good. We ran cattle up really high. The retailer put the prices in the store much quicker than he typically does, and we had enough cattle around us. Well, now you're going to go into a period that's typically a dead period anyway, because your yearlings usually get harvested between December and maybe the middle of February, and then you get kind of a dead zone there before you get into the calves. And I don't care when your calf is born, there's very few calves that are going to be ready to go to market in March. So that's going to get really tough on numbers, I fear. So that's going to be interesting to see if we can drive that price back to the highs and possibly past it. I doubt it, but I think we're going to get a shot at trying it.
What do placements look like? And we're talking before the cattle on feed report.
That's a great question. I don't think placements in January were that good. We'll find that out. I think in February they've been very good, because one of the things you've seen with this big run up in the cattle is you've seen a good feeder fat swap. We're selling 140, 150 fat cattle, and you're able to buy break-evens down in the 130s. That's a pretty good swap. You're going to see people go ahead and market their cattle. They're profitable, and they're going to go ahead and replace. And amazingly enough, the feeder supply has been pretty good here as of late.
Forward question, expectations for corn prices?
I think corn has nowhere to go but down, personally. Now, typically you have a seasonal that goes up into March, and then once planting intentions are out towards the end of March, it starts to leak air a little bit. And then if you have good planting conditions, it's going to leak a little more. You get towards that June crop, and if everything looks good, ooh. And a lot of that corn is in the farmer's hands, and that's never good for prices.
Do grain farmers buy you dinner often at the local bar?
No, and they didn't do anything for me when they were getting $8 a bushel either. So
point taken. What about distillers grains? What's that market been like?
You know, that's still been really tight because of the incredible export demand to China. You've still seen a really tight relationship between corn price and distillers price, so it hasn't been really very advantageous to buy a lot and incorporate very much in your ration. Basically, it's just in there as a protein supplement at this point. You're not using it to supplement energy.